Welcome to World News. Tonight, security concerns at the highest level of government. New intelligence reveals an Al-Qaeda cell may be coming to America or already here. An ABC News exclusive. Second opinions. Former surgeons general accuse Presidents Bush and Clinton of placing politics above public health. Easy money. The FBI says bank robberies are crimes that pay. How a new generation of thieves is able to take the money and run. And the armchair aviator, the man who fulfilled his dream of flight without ever leaving his lawn chair.
From ABC News headquarters, this is World News with Charles Gibson.
Good evening. The Director of Homeland Security says he has a gut feeling there's a greater risk of a terrorist attack in this country this summer. I believe we are entering a period this summer of increased risk. That's what Michael Chertoff said to the Chicago Tribune editorial board. He cited intelligence he would not disclose. But ABC's chief investigative correspondent, Brian Ross, is here to report on high-level meetings of top intelligence officials and what it is they're worried about. Brian?
Charlie, senior U.S. officials tell ABC News that new intelligence suggests a small Al-Qaeda cell could be on its way to the United States or may already be here. The White House has convened an urgent multi-agency meeting for Thursday afternoon to deal with the new threat. Top intelligence and law enforcement officials have been told to assemble in the Situation Room to report on what steps can be taken to minimize or counter the threat and what steps are being taken to harden security for government buildings and personnel.
It suggests that they have information that the cell or cells coming this direction want to attack a government facility.
Law enforcement officials say the recent failed attacks in London and Glasgow have provided important new clues about possible terror tactics. Officials say the London attackers' use of the internet left important clues that are now being used to decode other emails that initially had been deemed unimportant, but are now taking on new significance. A senior administration official said tonight the level of concern of a new terror attack is now higher than it's been in some time. And the meeting this week in the Situation Room is one of a number that have been convened in light of the new intelligence and because of what happened in London, Charlie.
The obvious question, Brian, is how hard and how specific is the intelligence?
Not hard, but good, and it's being taken very seriously in connection with increased chatter, email traffic back and forth, the attacks in London, and a general concern, as Secretary Chertoff said today, that summer seems to be a time that Al-Qaeda likes to attack.
And there have been a bunch of tapes that have been coming from Al-Qaeda leaders.
In fact, Zawahiri, the #2 man, Ayman al-Zawahiri, put out his 8th tape today and said he has easy access to the internet, which suggests he's somewhere where the internet's available, and he threatened new attacks against London.
Once was the day when this kind of intelligence came in that they would raise the level of concern going to a different color.
The concern now is by doing that and not telling Americans what they can do, where the attack is coming, serves no useful purpose.
All right, Brian Ross reporting tonight. We're going to turn next to the political battle over the war in Iraq. President Bush today took a strong stand against the rising Republican opposition to his policy in Iraq, essentially saying the decision on when to bring the troops home isn't up to him. He said he'll start bringing troops home when military commanders tell him to. Our White House chief correspondent, Martha Raddatz, has been traveling with the president. Martha.
Charlie, the president was clearly trying to send a message today that he is not caving in to demands from Congress.
Despite a slew of Republican defections and poll numbers at historic lows, the president was resolute today, telling Congress to be patient.
I believe Congress ought to wait for General Petraeus to come back and give us assessment of the strategy that he's putting in place before they make any decisions.
On Capitol Hill today, Mr. Bush got strong backing from Senators John McCain and Lindsey Graham, both just back from Iraq with dire warnings about the consequences of a rapid troop drawdown.
The terrorists are in this war to win it. The question is, are we? Withdrawing before there's a stable and legitimate Iraqi authority would turn Iraq into a failed state and a terrorist sanctuary in the heart of the Middle East.
How can we as Americans leave those who have stepped forward to fight Al-Qaeda behind? How can we leave them to the wolves of these barbarians and say that we're for the good?
But challenges from other Republicans continue. Today, Senator Gordon Smith signed on to a Democratic amendment that would force President Bush to substantially withdraw troops by April of next year.
Policing a sectarian civil war is not what we signed up for and not what we can win. They have to win it.
Democrats, not surprisingly, were even more passionate about a drawdown.
How many more explosive devices are going to blow up in the faces of our troops before we start bringing them home? How many more Iraqis are going to die? Women, children.
The surge is not working. No matter how many different ways you explain it, it hasn't worked. 6 months, 600 dead Americans, $60 billion.
The interim progress report will still be delivered to Congress later this week, but the White House strategy is to downplay that report and buy time until September. Charlie?
Arthur Raddatz in Cleveland, Ohio tonight. Well, there was a brazen attack today on the most protected place in Baghdad, the U.S.-controlled Green Zone. 30 mortars and rockets landed, some near the U.S. Embassy. One of the biggest barrages to hit the Green Zone. 3 people were killed, including a member of the U.S. military. Politics next. Martha reported a moment ago on Senator John McCain's remarks regarding Iraq, but as he was speaking, there was more turmoil rocking his presidential campaign. 2 of his most senior advisors are out. His campaign manager was pushed out, and his chief strategist quit. We're joined now by our chief Washington correspondent, George Stephanopoulos. George, what's happening here?
Well, Charlie, those reports came out right as he was speaking. You're exactly right. But John McCain has been stewing for weeks over a campaign that was spending too much money, not raising enough money, and had tarnished his image as an independent maverick and took him from front runner a year ago to now 4th or 5th place in the national polls.
George, when a political campaign starts going in reverse, and it is generally perceived that's what's happening with the McCain campaign, it is hard to turn around. Are they worried that he can survive as a presidential candidate?
Oh, no question about it. Senator McCain and his aides are saying now, they're vowing that he's not going to quit. But once a campaign smells like a loser, it creates a vicious cycle. You lose more staff, you raise less money, supporters hemorrhage to other candidates. What the McCain campaign is taking heart in is the example of Senator John Kerry. 4 years ago, in the summer of 2003, he was broke. He fired his campaign staff. He was in 5th place. 5 months later, he got the nomination. They believe because John McCain has national security credentials and experience, he can do the same thing. All
right, George Stephanopoulos reporting on the McCain campaign. Thanks very much. One other piece of political news. One of the most conservative members of Congress has become involved in the D.C. Madam scandal. We have reported that Deborah Jean Palfrey, the woman accused of running a Washington prostitution ring, had a long list of client phone numbers. Well, today, Louisiana's junior senator, David Vitter, said his number is on it. Here's our senior political correspondent, Jake Tapper.
That alone.
Republican Senator David Vitter is a self-proclaimed defender of family values, as evidenced by this video on his website.
We focus here in the Senate on nurturing, upholding, preserving, protecting such a fundamental social institution as traditional marriage.
Last night, Vitter apologized for sinning after his number appeared on phone records of the alleged D.C. Madam. The married father of 4 said in a statement, quote, "Several years ago, I asked for and received forgiveness from God and my wife in confession and marriage counseling." Vitter's actions got more attention because he's a conservative rising star and led the charge against same-sex marriage.
It's often said, but it's very, very true, and it is worth repeating. Marriage is truly the most fundamental social institution in human history.
And just days ago, Vitter sent this letter to senators urging them to support abstinence education to teach teenagers, quote, that saving sex until marriage and remaining faithful afterwards is the best choice for health and happiness. Presidential hopeful Rudy Giuliani appointed Vitter from Louisiana to be his campaign's regional Southern chairman to vouch for him with wary conservative voters.
He's not running for president to advance any liberal social agenda.
Giuliani today kept his comments about Vitter brief.
Some people disappoint you.
Some voters are generous with politicians and their peccadillos, but what voters hate is hypocrisy.
Tonight, it's unclear how understanding the voters of Louisiana will be, or his wife. Jake Tapper, ABC News, New York.
In Florida, 5 people were killed today when a small plane crashed into a Sanford neighborhood near Orlando, setting houses on fire. On board the plane were the husband of NASCAR executive Lisa France Kennedy and a NASCAR pilot. The pilot of the Cessna had reported smoke in the cockpit. Investigators said the crash spilled aviation fuel and sparked an intense fire, quickly gutting 2 houses. The 3 killed on the ground were all inside their homes. A note from overseas tonight: there were protests across Pakistan after government forces stormed the mosque in Islamabad that has been under siege for more than a week now. Killed in the raid, a radical cleric and 50 followers who were holed up inside. 8 soldiers also were killed. The cleric led a campaign to enforce strict Islamic law. The cleric had said he would rather die than surrender. Still ahead on this broadcast, the growing number of criminals proving that crime can pay. What's behind a surge in bank robberies? We'll take a closer look. Remarkable testimony by 3 of the nation's former top doctors, accusations that they were forced to put politics ahead of science. And the ride of a lifetime, what one man accomplished with a lawn chair, helium balloons, and a lot of courage.
This is World News with Charles Gibson. Brought to you by Prilosec OTC.
Got any aspirin? I think I pulled a delt. Yeah. It's a casual top for work, don't you think? Beep, beep. There it is. No, I can get a ride. Oops.
Yoga. At least you can keep your heartburn from coming back with Prilosec OTC, the only OTC heartburn remedy that works to block heartburn before it begins for 24 hours with 1 pill a day. Try Prilosec OTC, the round-the-clock heartburn blocker.
In the future, we'll protect our eyes from sun damage like we protect our skin. Transitions lenses. They block harmful UV rays and glare and adjust to changing light. So don't wait until tomorrow. The danger is here today. Ask your eye care professional about Transitions. Healthy sight in every light. Your purchase of Transitions lenses benefits vision-related causes supported by the Transitions Healthy Sight for Life Fund.
Burning, itching. Oh, I should have used Preparation H.
And for extra relief, use Preparation H medicated wipes first. Unlike most ordinary wipes, they relieve while you clean. Then apply your Preparation H. Medicated wipes from Preparation H, the relief expert.
I have COPD with chronic bronchitis, which makes it hard to breathe. But now that I'm breathing better with Advair, I can cheer my grandson to victory.
For people with COPD with chronic bronchitis, great news. Advair helps significantly improve lung function. While nothing can reverse COPD, Advair is different from other medications because it's the only product with an anti-inflammatory and a bronchodilator working together to help you breathe better. Advair won't replace fast-acting inhalers for sudden symptoms and should not be used more than twice a day. Lung infections, including pneumonia, have been reported with Advair. Taking Advair may increase your risk for osteoporosis and some eye problems. Tell your doctor if you have a heart condition or high blood pressure before taking Advair, and ask about the risks and benefits of continuing Advair after 6 months.
Thanks for coming, Grandpa.
I wouldn't have missed it. Ask your doctor how Advair helps improve lung function for better breathing.
Find out how to get your first full prescription free at advaircopd.com.
Red Lobster is firing up the grill with 2 new creations. Try fire-grilled split Maine lobster tails with jumbo shrimp, or new grilled sea scallops with jumbo shrimp. And soon, only at Red Lobster.
For our closer look tonight, a resurgence of an old-style crime, bank robbery. When Willie Sutton, a 1930s bank robber, was asked why he robbed banks, he replied, "Because that's where the money is." Increasingly, today's criminals appear to feel the same way. The number of bank robberies increased 5% last year to nearly 7,300. As our Pierre Thomas reports, the bank robbers feel they have a good chance of getting away with their crimes.
At least 23 banks are robbed somewhere in the U.S. every day. From these 3 gun-wielding young men robbing a bank in Illinois to this man in Texas who claimed to be a father who had just been laid off, bank robbery remains one of the most common and troubling crimes facing police.
As soon as I heard the gunshot and I turned around and looked at him, I was fearing for my own life.
The robbers are overwhelmingly men, often showing up in costume, masks, wigs, even in drag. These suspects posed as police to get inside this Jackson, Mississippi bank. But women, who make up 5% of bank robbery suspects, are getting more brazen, far different from the days of Bonnie and Clyde, when they served mostly as lookouts. Today, according to the FBI, Women like the cell phone bandit and the ponytail robber are much more likely to be robbing the banks themselves.
Out of the people we arrest, about 50% have a narcotics abuse habit, and the other ones may have an alcohol addiction, they may have a gambling addiction.
Most bank robberies are surgically swift, over in minutes, largely because of little security. Many banks don't have armed guards or anything separating tellers from customers, by choice.
It's not clear that the best security for banks is the most security. When armed guards have been in some banks, there have been shootouts, innocent people have been hit in the crossfire.
It appears crime does indeed pay a lot.
Half of the bank robbers don't get caught, and the overwhelming majority of the cash, more than 80% of it, disappears.
Of $352 million stolen in bank robberies from 2002 to 2006, only $58 million was recovered.
They're spending it as soon as they rob the bank.
Since 9/11, many law enforcement officials say their focus has been on terrorism. Today, with crime surging in many communities, some police say it may be time to refocus. Pierre Thomas, ABC News, Washington.
Our closer look for tonight. Coming up, America's former top doctors revealing pressure to put politics ahead of medicine.
Keeping control of a busy emergency room, Janet is a formidable woman. But she was no match for something smaller than the tip of a pen. It KO'd Janet so fast, she didn't know what hit her. It was a clot. Like Janet, if you've been hospitalized with heart-related chest pain or a certain type of heart attack, what doctors call ACS, chances are you've had a clot. But now Janet's doctor is helping increase Janet's protection against heart attack or stroke by putting Janet on Plavix. Plavix, taken with other heart medicines, helps provide greater protection against heart attack or stroke than other heart medicines alone by helping keep blood platelets from sticking together and forming clots.
If you have a stomach ulcer or other condition that causes bleeding, you should not use Plavix. When taking Plavix alone or with some medicines, including aspirin, the risk of bleeding may increase. To minimize this risk, always talk to your doctor before taking aspirin or other medicines with Plavix, especially if you've had a stroke. Additional rare but serious side effects could occur.
Ask your doctor about Plavix today, because no matter how formidable you are, you're no match for a dangerous clot. If you take Plavix with other heart medicines, continuing to do so will help increase your protection against a future heart attack or stroke beyond your other heart medicines alone. You may be feeling better, but your risk never goes away. Help stay protected. Stay with Plavix.
Blue sky smiling at me, nothing but blue skies.
Today, there's a fuel that, when paired with advanced diesel engines, will help reduce truck emissions by 90%. And that means bluer skies and cleaner air for all of us. Introducing new ultra-low sulfur diesel. From the people who bring you oil and natural gas. Learn more at energytomorrow.org.
She turned around and left the cave, and I'm standing there by the pool of water alone, like I am in all of my dreams. And it just brought up a whole bunch of issues that...
Tym piórze nie ma atramentu.
What?
I wtedy możemy zacząć dopiero pracować.
Using a broker you can't understand doesn't make much sense either. That's why Edward Jones speaks in a language you can understand, so financial decisions get the attention they deserve. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Vitamin D is a key to calcium absorption, which helps keep bones strong. Caltrate has advanced levels of vitamin D. Keep your bones strong to keep your body strong. Caltrate, the key to strong bones.
Fire crews in the West spent another hot, dry day battling wildfires in 12 states. Tonight, more than 830,000 acres parched by extreme heat are burning. The largest fire in Utah history grew by another 11,000 acres today, now covering almost 470 square miles. And the heat wave blanketed the east for another day, but a break is expected tomorrow. China's former chief of Food and Drug Safety has paid the ultimate price for taking bribes in exchange for approving untested medicines. He was executed. The unusually swift and severe punishment is being seen as an attempt by China to show that it's serious about improving the safety of its products. 3 men who have served as U.S. Surgeon General delivered unusually strong testimony in Washington today, saying, in essence, they were never allowed to do their jobs, that they faced constant pressure to put politics ahead of medicine and science. ABC's Lisa Stark reports.
Truth, the whole truth.
It was an extraordinarily blunt hearing. 3 former surgeons general lifting the veil on the political interference, the political pressure they faced as the nation's top doctor.
The reality is that the nation's doctor has been marginalized and relegated to a position with no independent budget and with supervisors who are political appointees with partisan agendas.
Dr. Richard Carmona, Surgeon General under President Bush, said political appointees censored his speeches and silenced him on controversial issues, such as the administration's decision to limit funding for stem cell research.
I was blocked at every turn. I was told the decision had already been made. Stand down, don't talk about it.
Carmona said the administration did want him to talk about the president. He was told to mention Mr. Bush's name 3 times on every page of every speech. And Dr. David Satcher, who served in the Clinton administration, revealed that in the midst of the Lewinsky scandal, he was not allowed to release a report on responsible sexual behavior.
I think when a Surgeon General is not able to communicate, to write his speeches, his or her speeches, and say what I want to say to the American people, I think you've crossed the line significantly.
But it was C. Everett Koop, who served under Ronald Reagan, who said if he had faced the intense political pressure felt today, there may have been no war on tobacco or fight against drunk driving.
Clearly, the Surgeon General must be free to serve the American people without political interference.
Richard Carmona said his colleagues agree it's worse than ever under President Bush.
You don't want Republican or Democratic scientific information. You want real scientific information.
Late today, the Bush administration released a statement insisting that the administration has always stressed sound science in its public health policy. Lisa Stark, ABC News, Washington.
An update now to our story last night about 14 cities, all named Springfield, battling it out to be the Springfield to host this month's premiere of the Simpsons movie. The winner is Springfield, Vermont. Population 9,300. That town's video entry featured a real-life Homer chasing a donut. That video and other Springfield offerings are at our website, abcnews.com. Pulitzer Prize-winning cartoonist Doug Marlette died in a car accident today in Mississippi. A native of North Carolina, Marlette began drawing political cartoons for the Charlotte Observer in 1972. Going on to work at newspapers including the Atlanta Journal-Constitution and New York's Newsday. When it came to using his pen and paper to skewer politics or religion, Marlette said he was an equal opportunity offender. He also poked gentle fun at his southern roots in his comic strip, Kudzu. Doug Marlette, a very talented man, was 57 years old. And when we come back, making the high-flying trip of a lifetime, sitting in a lawn chair.
Some of us need help falling asleep. Even more of us need help staying asleep. But a good night's sleep doesn't have to be an on-off thing anymore. Only Ambien CR has 2 layers to help you with both problems. The first dissolves quickly to help you fall asleep fast. Plus, unlike other sleep aids, there's a second layer. It dissolves slowly to help you stay asleep. Ambien CR is a treatment option you and your prescriber can consider along with lifestyle changes and can be taken for as long as your prescriber recommends. Until you know how Ambien CR will affect you, you shouldn't drive or operate machinery. Be sure you're able to devote 7 to 8 hours to sleep before being active again. Somnambulism with amnesia for the event and rare cases of severe allergic reactions have been reported. If you experience these events, contact your prescriber immediately. Side effects may include next-day drowsiness, dizziness, and headache. It's non-narcotic. However, like most sleep aids, it has some risk of dependency. Don't take it with alcohol. Ask your prescriber about Ambien CR. Remember, CR for a good night's sleep from start to finish.
You're a winner! Would you like to be a Publishers Clearinghouse winner tomorrow? No way! You can if you go to PCH.com right now.
Oh!
Enter today, win tomorrow.
It finally paid off!
Our next $10 million winner could be you.
Enjoy the foods you want with a tight seal from Fixodent Control.
Cholesterol. It can come from that cherry pie, but also from your granddad's sigh. From beef off the grill and your grandmother, Jill. A healthy diet is important. When that's not enough, adding Vytorin can help. Cholesterol comes from 2 sources, food and family. Vytorin treats 2 sources. Only Vytorin helps block the absorption of cholesterol from food and reduces the cholesterol your body makes naturally. Vytorin was also proven in clinical studies to lower bad cholesterol more than Lipitor alone, more than Crestor alone. Vytorin is not for everyone, including people with liver problems, women who are nursing, pregnant, or may become pregnant. Tell your doctor right away about unexplained muscle pain or weakness, which may be a sign of a rare but serious side effect. Certain medicines or foods may increase your risk of getting this serious side effect. Simple blood tests are needed to check for liver problems. So eat right, stay active. But if that's not enough, ask your doctor about adding Vytorin, 2 sources of cholesterol. Treat them both with Vytorin.
Coming up on Virginia News tonight, thunderstorms are passing through our area. What relief will they bring as far as rain? Shane's in to tell us. And a family's dog is attacked by a rabid fox. What you need to know to keep your family safe. Virginia News Tonight is next. Join us.
Tomorrow, change your summer from drab to fab in just 5 easy steps. Take a road trip and have gas money to spare. Hop a quick flight and have mad money left over. Or stick around home and save big doing what your family loves. How? Watch Good Morning America.
Tomorrow, a China backlash. Is made in China a recipe for danger? Some Americans are now boycotting Chinese products out of fear for their safety. Could there soon be a China-free label on tires or fish? Find out more on World News with Charles Gibson.
Finally tonight, something from our you probably shouldn't try this department. A lot of people might think the perfect way to spend a summer afternoon is to sit in a lawn chair in the backyard, maybe a cool drink in hand. For one man, that was just the beginning.
No.
Kent Couch is a 47-year-old gas station owner in Bend, Oregon, and he likes to fly. So over the weekend, he set out to fly to Idaho, using his deck chair and a whole bunch of oversized helium balloons, 105 of them.
Friends tried to talk me out of it. My wife preferred me not to do it.
When he gets something in his mind, you can't get it out.
He says it was a nice ride.
Anybody would want to do it. You look up at the sky on a nice summer day, laying on your back in the grass, and you look up and see clouds, and you say, what would it be like to sit on that cloud and just drift away on all your worries are gone? And I enjoyed, that's my idea of it all.
And who hasn't fantasized about flying off, holding on to helium balloons? Many of us remember Curious George doing that in his very first story.
Putting a balloon on your wrist and flying away. She'll go out around the sky.
But to actually try it? Well, Kent did. He didn't make it to Idaho, but he was up at 13,000 feet and in 9 hours went 200 miles.
I did not have a seatbelt, but I did have a parachute.
There is a problem. We can't show you the videotape he shot because when Kent landed, he jumped back onto the ground and the balloons took off again with his video camera.
It was a successful landing, but not a successful day totally because I lost my gear.
Would he do it again?
Yeah, I'd do it again.
I know he's not, because I'm actually the one that gets to decide.
105 helium balloons, $1,400. One lost video camera, couple of $100. Fulfilling the fantasy of flight, priceless. By the way, Kent Couch will be on Good Morning America tomorrow. And that is World News for this Tuesday. I'm Charlie Gibson, and I hope you had a good day. For all of us at ABC News, have a good night.